What's up, guys?
What's up?
I'm
It's
here.
episode 12, I
Yes,
think.
Chuck is on time.
Chuck is on time for
I'm
episode
here all the
12.
time. I was early.
Yes.
I'm,
So
and
you,
I'm
so
still
you,
alive.
so you say.
I'm
So you
still
say.
alive.
Yeah, you are still alive.
You seem to have gotten over your not corona.
I had sinus issues. I still have some sinus issues. Yesterday, I had pressure in my ear the whole day to where my ear felt like it needed to pop. So, outside of that, I'm good.
Did your ears kind of pop when you swallowed?
No, it was clogged up to the point it wouldn't do that, but it's okay today.
I was going to say that's
Yeah,
a sign of COVID. That's a symptom.
Is it really?
It is.
That's wild. But no, it popped.
No, like swallowing and your ears popping when you swallow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sign.
Oh, well.
So go ahead and try it here. We'll check.
Live on camera.
No, I mean, no. It's like it's fine now, okay?
Sure it is. Sure it is.
Look, people, I live with people. There'd be problems at this point if I had that.
Hasn't stopped a lot of other people. Anyway.
Right. So what's going on?
So, terms of news, different stuff, and anything before we get into that. I don't have much from this past week. What do you got, Chuck? Anything you got, W? Just in terms of personally.
I don't really have anything besides Walmart's doing drive-ins for sure. Starting, I think, next week.
Is it the one near you? I know it's like specific ones.
No, like the closest one near me is Nashville, so it's still like an hour from here.
I doubt any of the ones around here want to do it.
It just feels weird to me that it's drive-ins by Walmart.
It's free, but you got to buy a parking spot. So.
Of course, so it's not actually free.
Exactly.
Plus, also, I'm thinking about it in context of they've done just so many great things with music and movies in terms of censorship and edit versions, which makes me wonder about the movies they would show during a drive-in at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
I'm sure they're all going to be family friendly.
God's not dead.
There's a list of movies. It's like E.T. and stuff like that.
Of course.
I have to listen to that song at work every fucking day.
Which one?
That God's Not Dead.
Oh, the one from that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not surprising. I am sorry for you having to listen to that.
I've never heard it.
You don't want to.
You don't want to. But otherwise, in terms of that, then move into the news. The big, in terms of overall movie news, is that Disney, after saying they were going to delay Mulan, decided, fuck it, we're going to put it out on demand for $30 online. And a lot of people are wondering about what that means in a general sense, if it makes them a lot of money, what it means if people will spend the $30 to see Mulan at home, what it can mean to them, because basically they're cutting out the middleman and they won't have to give any money that they would normally lose for concessions when someone and their family goes and spends $30 in the movies. Now they get all of it. What'll that mean for theatrical stuff they put out and things like that? I mean, it's a question. I have to see what happens. But
I mean, I know Trolls did really, really well at $20, and I'm pretty sure Invisible Man did really well as well.
20 seemed to be when I first read the article, someone had posted online that 5 seemed to be the line where people were like, that's the minimum, basically, that they were like, oh, that's fine. And then for like brand new releases, 20 kind of became the norm. And now here's Disney going, we're going to charge you 50% more. And it's like...
And again, it's also Disney.
Yes, that's half the other issue of it too. Which that's also kind of the problem too, is that it's Disney. Because if Disney does this, makes a shit ton of money, this isn't really Fox anymore. This isn't really like Paramount. This is Disney, who owns basically almost every major franchise right now. And if they decide they don't need theaters as much, that could be a big problem for theaters, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know about the $30 price tag, personally.
It's a lot. It's a lot to ask, especially for something you're just going to sit there and watch at home. I didn't know this or not. I don't know if you've seen or not. Do you know if there's like a limit on how many times you can watch it? I know you said you watched Trolls like 4 times, 5 times.
I think you get different platforms are different, so I don't know how Disney's going to do this. Like, I am assuming it's going to be through Disney Plus somehow, and that they add it on to your monthly subscription or something. I don't know if it's a one-time purchase, but in Vudu, I think you have 24 hours to watch the movie, and you can watch it as many times as you want. Amazon Prime, I think, is you've got like a week to watch the film and then 24 hours after you start it. So like you can rent it if it's on sale or something.
Mm-hmm.
And iTunes is the same way. Like I've rented 99-cent movies on iTunes because they were the deal of the day, and not started them for 3 days. But then you have 24 hours to finish it.
Understandable.
But when I rented Lords of Darkness, I want to say I did that on Vudu, and I could watch it multiple times in like the time frame, which was either 24 or 48 hours. I don't remember.
They probably all vary depending on the service, depending on the system.
I know Vudu is 24 hours, as much as you want for 24 hours.
Okay, so that's what it is then.
Other news, we talked last time about Arrow is announcing a movie involving a tarot card. Since then, they have announced, and they're not bad choices, but they are unusual. They're doing Last Starfighter, Warning from Space, Cold Light of Day, and the reference they were doing was a movie called The Deeper You Dig, and that was what the tarot card was referencing.
I've heard good things.
I've heard, yeah, it doesn't seem. I'll put it this way, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because I know Scream Factory stuff is usually more popular, more well-known stuff. But if Arrow puts it out, I at least trust it to have some value, because they went and found it, even if it hasn't been out yet.
Well, Scream Factory put out Bite, which we talked about on the Tubi episode, and it was completely
that was an IFC
unknown.
Thing, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
That's kind of what I mean. They'll do all the IFC Midnight stuff, which some's great,
Bite,
some's not.
Bite was a Shout produced one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
There we go. And they can do that pretty well sometimes.
Like it's in there with Itsy Bitsy. Itsy Bitsy, I think the Shout produced too.
I think they're getting ready to do a Baba Yaga movie now, or something like that.
I don't know, but I don't like I understand why people are trying to figure out other ways to put their movies out, because a lot of people don't want to wait. So they're trying to push their streaming service. I hope this doesn't end up just completely killing theaters.
That's that's the fear, exactly.
Because it's still, you can't replace going to the theater sometimes. That's a trope that I hope we don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
Although these days, who knows? With the way this year's been, who knows what's coming and what's going? So it could just be one of them things where it just goes by the wayside. But if you get too hardcore about losing your theaters and you're going to these online streaming services, the next step is you're going to lose your physical copies, because why put out a physical copy if you got it streaming, right? So it's a slippery slope, as you said.
At the very least with the physical copies, you might lose them from someone like Fox or Warner Brothers, but it feels like Severin or Synapse, even Shout Factory and Scream Factory, they seem to still be devoted to still putting that stuff out. And there's still your boutique labels, like I forget the name of them, but they're doing Slash Dance, that obscure-ass VHS movie coming out on DVD. You'll still get some people making it, but you won't get the things that would normally be in a theater out there like that.
Well, Synapse said, Don May Jr. said that he was making movies till they shut all the factories down. So, which some are shut down due to pandemic reasons right now.
Sure.
But I even worse though, to me, it'd almost be just as bad if we had a system where all the releases are super limited.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because then you got to pretty well win the lottery to buy everything.
If that.
Yeah.
Or be a robot.
Yeah.
Or get a stimulus check, huh, Chuck?
Huh?
Said, or get a stimulus check.
That's right. They need to send us a flow of those so everything's back on track. I feel better about it.
Chuck needs the Friday the 13th set.
I do. I need it bad. And if we get that stimulus money, then Chuck could probably get that pretty soon.
Moving on.
Unless one of our humble listeners will donate one to.
Just remember, Chuck, when that money's in your account, places like Amazon, they don't charge you until it ships.
Oh.
So you got to keep that money in your account.
That's right. I do. I'm very bad with money, if you haven't realized.
I've known you for quite a while now, buddy, and I know this.
Yes.
We know what happens when you can't see our text messages in the group chat anymore.
Yeah, all right.
In other Arrow news, they announced today, as we record this, that Pitch Black is delayed due to a shipping delay until September 1st. But the bigger news for some people is there's a printing error and there won't be any slipcases for Pitch Black copies ever. Oh!
Now, why would an error stop there from being any slipcases ever?
It says, and I quote, "We regret to inform you all that due to a printing error, our 4K Ultra HD release of Pitch Black will no longer include a slipcase."
They've hurt themselves badly on this.
Oh yes, so badly.
But the thing is, it's like, okay, the slipcase is all they had to offer on this 4K because with Arrow, 90% of the time it's the packaging. Okay, they do the clear Blu-ray cases that not many people do. They're real thick. You usually get like the little window. Well, you don't do window box anymore.
Not
they
anymore.
have little slip boxes. Sometimes they have just a thicker slip case. So if you don't have anything with the 4K version, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot with it. Now I don't care, but other people might.
I didn't cancel my pre-order, but Jesse posted today on Facebook that he was fielding lots of emails for cancellations because there was not a slipcase.
Vinegar Syndrome's the smartest people out of everybody because you notice now they just sell slipcases.
They sell slipcases for things that never originally came with a slipcase.
Yep.
Smart people.
They make a lot of money out of it too.
So that's what replaced our VHS craze that you
Absolutely.
had. Now it's slipcases.
Mm-hmm.
So, which the only thing I care about with my slipcases is my collector's editions from Scream Factory. Everything else I don't care, but I've some of those are really hard to get, and I've had a slipcase of every one of those. So if I got one of those and didn't have the slip, that'd be the only time I ever really cared.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is you always seem to be looking for the ones for Shout Factory and Scream Factory because you've got slipcases for most all of them or most every release. So I mean, in that situation, you understand it, but at the same time, I don't think you'd turn down a movie because it didn't have a slipcase on it.
No.
Exactly.
See, I have 3 collector's editions from Scream Factory that I still need to get, and I'm gonna make sure I have slipcases with those, even if I have to buy a slipcase separate later on.
Sure.
At this point anymore, I don't even care about slipcases. Like on Vinegar Syndrome sale, because a lot of the time the limited edition had different artwork and a slipcase, and that was it. And it was like a $2 or $3 difference, and you could get the regular version. Most of it, I went with the regular version on the majority of them. I just fuck it.
Being our age, we remember when they first started slipcases, when these things first popped up on DVDs at Walmart. Most of the time they were damaged because nobody at Walmart took care of them. But
they still don't.
No. But it seemed like they were kind of more in the way than anything at one time. They were about you take your slipcase off, then you have the little weird snap things on the side of the DVD cases that used to get in the way of everything. And it's just like now somehow we've graduated to these slipcases being these super important things we have to have now.
Well, and I was like that 2006-ish, 2007, 2008, 2009.
Whenever Dawn of the Dead remake came out.
I would buy it. If I went to, when I was working at Hot Topic, I'd go next door to FYE and they're like, "Oh, hey, we got this in. I know you wanted it." And if it didn't have a slipcase, I wouldn't buy it. I'd go down to Target, see if Target had the slipcase, or I'd go to Best Buy.
You're one of those, huh?
I was.
But he was. That's the thing. He changed. He realized how much.
At this point, fuck it.
Yeah. What's it going to matter, right? I mean, these people might as well not even buy the movie. They might as well just sell the movie and just keep the slipcase on their shelf.
Some of them do.
And now they've got
I guarantee they do.
Oh, yeah, they got these fancy. You can buy these protectors now just for slipcases.
Yep. Vinegar Syndrome sells those. Of course they do.
But, I don't remember, it's very rare that I ever get a slipcase in the mail that's in pristine condition anyway.
Very rare.
Speaking of Shout Factory, other news from today was they announced more titles that are going out of print at the end of the year.
Most are MGM titles.
Yes. Carrie, Child's Play, Escape from New York, both regular and limited edition steelbook, Mad Max, Manhunter, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So those are all on a special section of their website where they're on sale
for normal price
until they're sold out. Yeah.
How much is Escape from New York?
Escape from New York's regular is like $15. Their steelbook is like 21 or 22.
Okay, if you can catch it, it's in the bargain bin at most Walmarts for $7.
Yep.
The same version, sometimes with the slipcase.
Yeah,
so is
exactly.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, so I don't think those sold well. Of course, that's what they get for putting out movies that've been out 1,000 times before.
I got the
don't even think
steelbook for $15.
they didn't give us new transfers, did they? It's the same stuff, wasn't it?
Some of them they did, some of them they didn't.
The extras, some of the extras were nice.
It depends on the movie, because there was always kind of a toss-up.
And there's like a bunch of Scream Factory stuff just popping up randomly at Walmart now.
I don't get that either. I mean, I get it, but I don't. It's like,
And
it's kind of like
them
how some of that
with
shows up.
Yeah.
It's like some of it that shows up at Hamilton Books. You get why it shows up at Hamilton Books. It's similar theory, but you'd think the Walmart stuff's a little weird.
Like the
because of how low the price is.
Two-disc Candyman for what, $10?
Something like that. That's what I got.
Candyman didn't sell. I mean, Candyman went on Blu-ray forever, and now it's on like marked down at Walmart. That doesn't seem right to me.
And that Scream Factory release is nice. It looks good.
It is.
Oh yeah. 2-disc collection. The Thing was $10. You got the Omen box set for $40, I think, right?
And now the flat box set's popping up too.
Yeah. Nuts.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's weird. It's weird that all these things are popping up, which it's stuff that, like I said, for the most part, is good stuff. They've got. I ain't really seen much of the I don't know, anything bad, I guess you could say, on sale there.
Right.
So it's odd, although they may just sign a distribution deal. May just been
it's probably if they get the rest out of the way and stuff. Cauldron news is not very much, but basically just to let everybody know, by the time you see the episode on Abracadabra show up on YouTube, it has already sold out. It's been sold out effective a couple days ago of its limited edition slipcovered CD Blu-ray special edition.
I think it sold out a day or two after we recorded.
Yep.
They ain't gave a name for the new titles yet.
Nope, not yet. The only other piece of news, I think I went over a bunch of stuff at the beginning of the before the show. I didn't mention this one, but I don't want to forget Blue Underground this time around, which is, I believe they announced somewhere that they're getting ready to do Vigilante on 4K transfer of some kind. So they're kind of going through their usual stuff, basically.
I've never seen that.
Neither have I.
Neither have I, but it's up there.
I got rid of my copy of Daughters of Darkness because I heard that they're coming out with a 4K one of that. So
yes.
Which I was keeping it because it had like the blood splattered bride as an extra on the Blu-ray, but then that got put out by Mondo put it out.
Mondo put it out, yeah.
And I've got it, so yeah. So I'm all for the 4Ks. If they look as good as Zombie and Maniac did, then I'm all for this 4K stuff.
Chuck, don't you remember us talking about this last week?
Probably wasn't here.
Nope.
What did I miss? This conversation about the Blue Underground?
Tiny bit.
Well, y'all wouldn't talking about how they keep putting the same stuff out every time, was you?
Maybe a hair.
Do they not have no new titles?
I don't think from what he said in interviews, I don't think he's interested in getting new stuff. I think he's interested in preservation of what he has. And even some of that, he's let go.
He's fighting tooth and nail for Django, right?
Apparently.
Yeah.
But
still got my copy.
I know, right?
But now they don't have Blind Dead anymore, right? Like I know Scream Factory put one Blind Dead title out on Blu-ray.
Did they do Night of the Seagulls?
Yeah.
They did Night of the Seagulls, yeah.
Yeah, so I heard Synapse supposed to put all the rest out, right?
I don't know that for sure.
I would fucking love a Blu-ray set of those.
Well, so would I. That's why I went to the trouble when Hamilton, or someone was doing their Blue Underground sale. I bought all the ones they had of those movies. They didn't have Night of the Seagulls because it was out of print by then. It was MVD, I think.
Well, as far as DVD goes, I have the coffin box right over here.
I wish I had the coffin.
Yeah.
Chad Sapp special, baby.
Right offer. Anybody can buy anything. Right offers me.
I've got the Coffin Joe coffin box.
So do I.
Yeah, I don't have that.
I've got the Tygon UK collection in a coffin box set.
Oh, well, coffin boxes, they're pretty cool. My friend's mom has the entire Dark Shadow set in a big coffin.
Oh, that thing, yeah. With the drawers that pull out of Barnabas
It takes up a lot of space.
It's expensive as hell. It was like $1,000 when they put it out.
Yeah,
my friend Molly has it.
I would like to get it and sell it.
I bet you would. Like, I've been looking on eBay off and on at a copy of the Mario Bava second volume that Lionsgate did, and it's rare to see that sucker for less than $70 right now.
Anchor Bay did it?
Mm-hmm. It's
He's
like,
good.
the best I've found is 45, but
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to just buy the ones I want on Blu-ray from Kino instead of doing, the random shit they have on there, like the sexy comedy and the Western parody and stuff.
I had the Demons, the double thick case had Demons 1 and 2 on it.
Arrow or
Anchor Bay.
Oh,
And then I passed it on down to Grooms when I got the Blu-rays. And then I think he might have passed it on down to Goob, or maybe he still has it. I don't know. But I almost regret that, though, because even with the Blu-rays, it's still a cool set.
Mine's signed by Lamberto Bava.
Well,
mine is too.
Well, unless mine came that way, it's not signed by Lamberto Bava. But I miss Anchor Bay. Like, I know Anchor Bay was like
only reason I
DVDs, but I still want to go back and get a bunch of that stuff. The local McKay's has the old Anchor Bay Suspiria set, the one that had the soundtrack or whatever, like
There you go.
the thick one that's numbered. And I've come close to buying that 100 times. I think I might get it eventually.
Worth it.
R.I.P. Anchor Bay.
Yeah, it's the only reason I still have. Yeah, it's the only reason I still have my original Demons DVD, because I have the Steelbook. But why would I get rid of it when it's signed by Lamberto Bava?
Yeah.
Why'd you get rid of it anyway?
Of the DVD copy, I meant.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's a good friend like me, so he passed it down.
Nah, I'm good.
So you need to watch Demons, sir, because some people haven't seen it.
Serbian who?
Ryan Grooms.
Oh, okay.
You just let him
What
borrow
the hell
it.
are you talking about?
What was that?
So you could just let him borrow it. That set's been out of print for fucking over a decade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I bought it on Amazon, so I'm a secondhand seller when I bought it. It was out of print when I got it.
I believe it.
Yeah, I also got rid of my Sleepaway Camp box set too. I actually had the one.
Still have that.
I had the one that had the first aid thing, like the one that everybody got mad about, like the Red Cross thing on it.
I have that. Except the thing is, it was from a Best Buy, and it was the last one they had, so it looks like utter garbage because it's like dented and yeah.
Mine had a hole in it where someone had gripped it and put their finger right through it.
Kind of like that, yeah.
I had both sets, and then I ended up selling one of them. I don't remember which one I sold, but
I think mine didn't have the Red Cross on it, but it's still the same set. Basically.
I had the Red Cross one, but I got it on Blu-ray. It's like it'd just be taking up room at this point.
did the Red Cross was the first one, and without the Red Cross had the extra disc and the paper, right?
Well, mine had the extra disc, and it was the Red Cross.
No.
The one that had the part 4 parts of it or whatever.
Yep.
One of them, whatever, I don't know. I sold one of them, and I made a lucrative amount of money off of it, so I'm okay
You
with
probably
it.
sold the Red Cross one because that's what everybody wants.
I'm pretty sure I sold the one with the extra disc.
Well, the Red Cross was supposed to have the extra disc.
Doesn't matter. Whatever.
I remember,
I've got Blu-rays.
Yeah, well, I've got Blu-rays too. So I mean, but like my friend bought the one without the Red Cross that didn't have the disc.
Yeah.
Sold it for like $125 to some kid that's local.
Not a bad deal if you're gonna do that back.
Chad Sapp.
Ha! And with that, it is now time for us to be on the pulse of the horror community and talk about the movie that everybody and their mother is talking about right now. I'm gonna throw it to you.
I'm pretty sure this is the #1 movie in the world.
Probably.
Will it be when this drops?
Honestly, on some level. I'm still seeing articles about it right now.
If
I
this
mean,
episode
yeah.
was going to be new, this means we're the tip of the sword, right? On this horror thing.
So both of the Cauldron Films episodes are coming out the same week, which would be this coming week.
That'll work.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to kind of keep them together.
Makes sense.
And this one will come out that following Monday. So it'll, a week from recording this, essentially it'll be out. Or a week and a couple of days.
But yeah, everybody's talking about it. It's
Host.
Not the
Shudder
old Korean
exclusive. I wish it was the Korean one. Thought that movie was amazing.
Right? That's great.
Best giant monster movie ever. Put my hand up to whatever you want.
It isn't the Host, the Korean movie, and it isn't the Perfect Host, the David Hyde Pierce movie where he plays a demented party host.
It's a Zoom movie. Shot on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
It's the quarantine movie.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
In England.
In England. So yes, this movie was shot entirely over Zoom, with during quarantine, and it stars 6 people that you've never heard of before.
Which kind of is the point. I'll give it that.
Yes, and it's one of those movies where they're actually going by their real names in the movie. Because they're using probably their personal Zoom account. And the movie is only 56 minutes long, because apparently you only get 56 minutes when you're a free Zoom member.
Yeah, the implication is the main character didn't spring for premium, and so poof.
So yes.
So wait a minute. Wait, hold on a second. This movie is only the runtime it is, not because somebody's trying to be clever. It's because somebody was too cheap to buy the premium version of Zoom.
I think it's a mix of both, because
Yeah.
in universe, it's because someone was too cheap to buy the premium version of Zoom.
Okay.
In actual film, making it, it's because that would be how long it would be, and that's how they chose to do it.
Okay. All right.
So is it five or six friends?
6 technically, and then one of them gets dragged away, shall we say, and not
Okay.
in the ghost doing it kind of way.
So it takes place in England, some place in England. Doesn't really say, and you kind of get to know the characters based on how they're brought into the Zoom call. And we do know that one of them lives directly next door, because she throws rocks at the person hosting the call's window and says, "Hey, add me." Then she gets added onto her phone, and then she walks to her house, and it's about a 3-minute conversation for her to get to her house. So she lives right next door. That plays
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense later
makes
on.
a
But
big Jesus Christ.
go ahead.
Anyway, as all the other people come on, their friend Teddy is probably the only character in this movie that I fucking like. He's with his girlfriend that all these other girls hate, and she's some rich girl, and he's at their like fucking ranch. And then they get a medium on, and she is Scottish, whether that matters or not. So they do a seance over Zoom, and none of them have ever done it before, but I believe it was Gemma was the main girl.
Yeah.
And the Scottish lady, that I don't recall her name,
What's
had done
her
this
name?
before, but not over Zoom. They've done them in person.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the main character, her name wasn't Haley.
I don't know, Chuck.
I think this is kind of the problem as we're getting at right here, is that I don't remember either which one is which in that regard. I remember them by face and look, but I don't remember their names.
Yeah.
There was not a Haley in this movie. Yeah, no, you're right. Haley. Okay.
Points to
Whatever.
They also, of course, traverse the astral plane.
Yeah, so they're all getting very, very drunk while doing this, because most of them think it's a joke, and they do a drinking game. They take a shot every time the woman says astral plane. Regardless, they all have to bring in a item of somebody who has passed, somebody that they would like to communicate with. The only one that I can even recall is Teddy's, and he brought his grandmother's jewelry box that terrified him.
It's a music box.
But,
well, because he goes into a big long story about how whenever he heard the music from it, he knew his older brother was coming and was going to fuck with him, basically.
Right.
And so that's kind of why he brought it, basically.
So it terrified him, yeah.
Yeah.
So they do it, and then one of the girls pulls a prank, and the medium gets kicked out of the chat for whatever reason, and she's acting like somebody is doing something, somebody from her from school that had passed away, and it turns out to be a joke, and then it all fucking downward spirals.
It goes to hell,
literally and figuratively.
So I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
We were probably going to do this episode because in the last episode we talked about doing the Beyond the Door trilogy next. And yes, we are. But this was probably going to be put right after that. But I got a text message the other night, and you're welcome, Dance Commander. He said, you guys really need to do this movie now because James is going to explode. And it's going to be fucking hilarious. And I said, well, I told him the schedule. And I said, we're going to do some 2020 films, but it's down the road a little bit. And he's like, oh man, it needs to be now. And that's when I kind of messaged you guys and said, hey, how about we bump the host up and do the host and then be on the door. So you're welcome, Matt.
To be clear to Matt, I'm not even going to really explode at host itself in this episode. I'm really not, because spoiler alert, I don't hate it. The hype train drives me crazy on this movie, and we'll come back to it afterwards. But that was why the movie. We'll get into it, but the movie's fine.
It's okay.
You know, but and we'll get more into detail about the movie itself shortly, but just the endless hype around this movie and the way it was hyped, because Dance Commander can speak to it, because I was the one who pointed out to him how weird it seemed that a lot of horror people would basically just write about 5 lines of text, reference the fact that it was coming to Shudder hashtag with the date of release, and then use the same picture.
Yep.
And I know that they're not paying for this publicity, because that's not how this stuff works. I used to write reviews. You write reviews, Chuck. You know they send you press releases. Yep. They send you a bundle of little screenshots. So you know that. But it's the amount and the similarity of everybody doing the same thing. It comes across fishy. When he sent you that text, I hadn't seen the movie yet. I
didn't even know it fucking existed.
Right. Like, I was just frustrated over the hype.
Yeah.
Now I've seen it, so now I have my opinions, but yeah.
Matt said something about it on Twitter, and someone said, you must not know how press releases work. And here's the thing. Those weren't press releases. Maybe they used an image from a press kit, and everyone had the exact same fucking image.
One of 2.
I saw all the ones I saw were the
ones
exact
on Twitter
same
were all the same one, and there was one other one that would show up in written reviews.
And when you Google the movie, that's what shows up is that picture.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: all of those, when you post a press release, you're posting something that the company has sent you. You can paraphrase it yourself, but everything that those people were putting were their own words. Mm-hmm. None of them were copy and pasting anything. I mean, yes, it was all praise, but to call that a press release is bullshit, because that's not a press release.
Yeah.
Mm. That is your own view of the film, or your own view of the film.
The only thing they got from a press release would be like the image and the hashtags they wanted to use.
Right. And that's kind of what I was noticing. The part where they're like, they all posted a hashtag Shudder. Every single one of them said, coming to Shudder on July 30th. And they did it where they would put what they wrote as a review, enter, the line about it being on Shudder on July 30th, enter, picture. Yep. So, like, the first part, I'm sure it's their honest opinion, and that's their call.
I'm sure.
And that gets into just the hype and what people think of it. But okay, that gets into something else we'll get to. But the other stuff, you can't tell me that on some level they didn't all think that was how they were supposed to do it, was to put the name of the Shudder and the hashtag and the date. Yeah. Because that doesn't happen by accident. But
I just want to point out that the only reason I actually watched this was because I realized that In Search of Darkness was 4 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
So I switched over and watched this.
And that's the
I did the exact
version,
same
not
fucking
the
thing.
Elvira one that I have. Yeah. I have the Elvira one that's 20 minutes longer because it's got more Elvira in it.
Like I said, I like this movie. I ain't gonna say I don't like this movie, but there's some things people need to take into account. Number one, it's pretty dull for the first 30 minutes.
Yes.
It takes forever for this thing to get going. Now, when it gets going, it's good. It's better than average when it gets going. But it takes 30 minutes to get going in a 50-something minute movie. Okay. People that are praising this must have never seen The Den. They must have never seen Unfriended 1 or 2. You know, it's like they act like this is some new concept. This has been done before. The only thing new about it is done on Zoom. And it's more socially in tune because they're wearing their germ mask and stuff. You know what I mean?
And mentioning the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah, right.
And then the same kind of thought process. Either they didn't see it, or you'll see a bunch of reviews where they're taking ideas from Unfriended, The Den, Blair Witch. They'll mention paranormal activity. Yes.
They did some stuff. They did the exact same stuff in this movie that they did in The Invisible Man that came out in January. Mm-hmm. They're throwing the stuff on that to see, if a figure appears in it, right? Like
the flower on the floor for the footprints.
Yeah, that's paranormal activity.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, It's
my
the greatest
honest,
hits of those movies all rolled into one with a little more blood added in.
and here's the thing. Okay, this is
Caught a
what
bug.
drove me nuts the most about the movie in and of itself. Because like you, in general, it's average to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that the first 30 minutes of it are so dull, it doesn't make like the rest of it's okay, but the first 30 minutes being so dull makes it just kind of meh for me, and that's fine. Last time I felt that way was Insidious, and Insidious is better than this, but everyone loved Insidious.
I like
But
Insidious quite a bit.
Insidious is fine, I think, but I thought it was
Insidious
overhyped.
1, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I'm watching this movie, and I talked to my wife after. I said, "Here's the problem. Every single solitary scare in this movie is telegraphed from the minute you see it.
Oh, yeah.
A character using facial filters, you know they're going to use it later. A character who has a background that has themselves in it, you know they're going to use it later. A character with a creepy doll puppet, you know they're going to use it later. The music box, you know they're going to use it later. You know, even to the point of the character with the frosty relationship with their significant other, you know he's going to come into it somehow later. Every single thing they used, with one exception, which is that the way they used the background shot with the person walking through it is really good. Probably my favorite thing in the movie. Everything
I can agree with that.
is telegraphed.
It's very convenient that the one girl lives so close to the other girl.
Oh yeah.
Very convenient.
Which
You know.
and I made a point, but say the point. I'm gonna say it again. Yeah, she lives very conveniently close when she has to, and when she has to live far enough away that it takes her a while.
When
not so
when
much.
she runs, it takes 10 minutes to get to her house, but when she walks, it's 3 fucking minutes.
Well, how was the traffic when she was
Because
walking? Right?
real time. I mean, this whole film's shot in real time.
Yeah, you're supposed to believe this is one single solitary Zoom call. Yeah.
But and like I don't want to throw this out there as a spoiler, and I hope this isn't spoiling it for anybody. But obviously one person we just kind of said leaves her house, scared shitless, leaves her house. Oh, let me put my fucking mask on because there's a pandemic going on outside.
Well,
Not to mention something scary is happening in my home right now and it's trying to kill me. Let me get my mask on.
Yes, because Corona is worse than whatever's trying to kill her buddy right now.
No shit.
That
fucking infuriated me.
See, so now 20 years from now,
yeah,
just in case you didn't know, you can look back and say, oh, that's when the pandemic was going on.
Yeah, which two things. That plus the whole movie, I admit they telegraph everything, but then right where the end, what do they really use to scare you? They use the same things that all YouTubers use. Sit someone in front of the little maze game, have them try and complete the maze, and a thing pops up on screen and scares you. It's literally the thing they do multiple times in the last 10 to 15 minutes of the movie.
This whole thing is nothing but jump scares.
You know, exactly. And then in terms of the...
I think only one of them, and again, I don't want to give anything away, towards the end of the film, one of the jump scares is all right. But all the rest of them, to me, fell like incredibly flat.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
it's one of those things where it's because it's Zoom, it needs music to make a jump scare work.
Yeah.
It needs sound design to make a jump scare work. You make a Zoom movie, you don't have that.
But the thing that annoys me is, we're in a pandemic, and they're trying to, but they're hammering that over your head. They say quarantine 50,000 times in this movie.
Well, it's like they want you to know. They want to be praised because they made a film during quarantine.
Yeah.
And the thing is, but
now I'm just saying, like, nobody talks about it that much when you talk to your friends. You know, it's just too much, too blatant there.
And creators have taken quarantine to create. That's what everybody has done. You look at YouTube or whoever you follow, and they've done a hell of a lot more during this quarantine
than
they ever have.
You sort of one, for God's sake. We haven't done this
started
in 4
our fucking
years.
podcast again. and I'm not to toot our own horn here, but I do think this is better than this fucking movie. So,
well, we tend to have a consistent connection. So, but every review, also getting to your point about the pandemic, every review says it is of its time. You know, it's about the horror of being in the pandemic and this. You don't think that's going to get the least bit dated?
I mean, there's going to be a time, like, I don't know about y'all, but let's say 5 years from now and we're kind of back to normal. Nobody, I don't want to be reminded of this.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, hey, there's that time we had to stay in the house. You know, it's just bad. It's bad form, you know.
And that gets to kind of where I was saying we were going to get to the hype. All of the people, like you were saying, they talk about, oh, it's better than this, it's better than that, or they just say this is the best found footage movie, and you're just like, what the heck have you seen?
Exists is better than this.
As
found footage goes. Blair Witch is probably on par with it. It's like, it's good. I ain't gonna say it's not good. Like, it's just not. But now maybe it's because of the year. There's not like a lot coming out that's good, or maybe there ain't a lot coming out. I mean, there's some good indie stuff out there, I'm sure.
Sure. Oh yeah.
But mainstream is slim pickings.
Yeah.
So
but even then.
Yeah, this is equivalent to being like the, and I know y'all probably gonna hate this metaphor, the smartest kid in the slow class. Okay, it's this one. That's Host.
Just because they're not doing a lot of film production doesn't mean that you grade it on a curve. Basically,
it's been given a curve. Yeah,
it's fine. It's a worthwhile film. And because it's 56 minutes, everybody talks about how a benefit of it is 56 minutes. Which, first of all, on that point, I texted you yesterday. At what point did we as a group decide 56 minutes was feature length?
Well,
I remember that being
a
short.
Since the 50s.
I remember that being a short.
Yeah.
A long form short.
Yeah, in the 50s it was feature length. Like, and my Universal horror sets are full of movies that are like this length. But that was back then.
Right.
But you gotta realize we're in the TikTok generation now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no
not for much longer.
Yeah, it depends on the definition. No, you'll be in the Microsoft-owned TikTok. But like, and then the thing is, like, you read articles, and I sent you guys one yesterday, which basically was from a completely non-horror website called Screen Rant, and basically said, why is this the best horror movie of the year? And talked about how
because there's nothing else.
It talked about how Rotten Tomatoes said it had 100%. Rotten Tomatoes was 100% apparently when they were writing this article. I haven't looked to see if it still is or if it ever was. It talked about how Stephen King's son Joe Hill praised it, but also Baron frigging Corbin from the WWE was apparently a worthwhile voice enough to discuss here. It's the fact that it's the popular thing to talk about is why everybody's saying it's the best thing. And then you watch it and you're like, that was fine, but I know I've seen better a lot of times. God.
Audience is 82. The audiences are a little more in tune than the actual professionals, according to that.
A little.
But it's like...
Go ahead, Chuck.
I know I always worry about what Baron Corbin thinks of a movie before I watch it.
He is the king, after all.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you have a difference of opinion, she might cover you in dog food.
It's true.
Exactly, of course. Apparently, also Xavier Woods said something as well on Twitter about liking it. And let me be clear, I love Up, Up, Down, Down. I love Xavier Woods. I love Austin Creed, whatever name you want to give him at this point, depending on what you're watching, YouTube or WWE actual matches. But I don't go to him for my horror recommendations.
I'll go to him for a video game.
Absolutely.
I go
to him for anime and other nerd things.
Yep.
Do you go to him for porn recommendations?
You could, but
there ain't much to that though.
To be fair, do you really go to him more, or do you go to Matt Stryker?
No, it was Greg Maddox.
Oh, sorry,
not Greg Maddox.
Brad Maddox.
It was Brad Maddox. Greg Maddox was a Cubs pitcher.
I didn't know who he was.
I thought he was a Braves pitcher. Anyway.
Yeah, he was both.
And we cycle around the references. Anyway.
Okay, so I messaged you guys this morning, and I said I had something for this episode. And I had a gag that I was going to try to do. That was the idea that you gave me earlier. And I told you guys about it. Didn't pan out. Couldn't find what I needed. But last night, because I just had a feeling that, because we're in a group chat with some other friends, and we have had this conversation about this movie. So I wanted an outside opinion. Of course, my wife watched it with me, and she fucking hated it. But she hasn't really liked anything that I've shown her in the past 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I messaged Eli, Mr. Vincent Renfield, and I said, hey, This was last night. I said, do you have 56 spare minutes? And he said, that's a really, like, precise amount of time. What's going on? And I said, there's this movie on Host. This movie on Shudder. It's getting a lot of praise. It's 56 minutes long. Have you heard of it? He'd never heard of it.
Which is amazing to me. But
I'd never heard of it until you would start sending that stuff in the group chat about everyone sucking it off. So I said, if you could watch it and just give me your thought on it, because I have a feeling that we're all going to kind of knock it down a few pegs, and just fresh set of eyes. And he hasn't had any of the conversations. Like, I hadn't told him anything that we had talked about.
He is not in our group chats for the show. He's not in our
Nothing.
group chats outside of it. No, yeah.
So he sends me today, dude, that movie is a terrible mess. It's so impressed with itself because it was shot during a pandemic and works way too hard to remind you of that. The total absurdity of having a character become so terrified that she runs out of her house but still remembers to put on a fucking mask. I can't even remember to bring mine to the gas station and always have to turn around and walk back to the car for it. Then, to make things worse, after having her chair grabbed, taking a Polaroid of something, and seeing all this terrifying phenomena, these two give an elbow bump. It had about 10 false endings, and each time they were worse. Unfriended was not a great movie, but it did this in 2014, and it did it better, and without being so proud of itself.
The one that I also find interesting is everybody forgets about VHS. And the one part of VHS that was done on webcams.
Was that
Skype
made no sense, but yeah, Skype webcam kind of thing. Made no sense in a movie called VHS, but they did it.
There's a lot of stuff in that movie that made no sense on VHS.
And we all know that we use Skype. We don't use Zoom. This is all done on Skype. Zoom is super fucking sketchy.
Oh yeah, privacy concerns on that thing are nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my wife during quarantine was using my Mac, and she was doing Zoom calls with other teachers every day, and I was like, you are absolutely not putting Zoom on my Mac. I was like, they can do Skype, or you can do it off your fucking phone. And I was like, and if you've used a credit card on your phone, you're not using Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been sued multiple fucking times.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty shady, huh?
Very.
But
yeah, it's real
I
bad.
know you warned me of Zoom. I can't remember what we were doing, and I mentioned Zoom, and you was like, "We're not going to do Zoom," or "We're not." Maybe it was this before we started.
I think it was you were first talking about this, and yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, we're not going to do Zoom." I was like, "Why?" Because I didn't know about the issues. Although nobody's listening to them, there's still 4,000 million people, whatever, on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
But the Den was probably better than this too. And the Den, I don't remember what she was using. Maybe she's using Skype. I don't know. Her whole computer screen was hijacked pretty much. So that's a movie I'd put above this. It's Unfriended was better. I think Unfriended was a little bit better. This is good for what it is. It's maybe, for better or worse, a good time capsule for this year. But
as you said, and as he said, it's dated itself.
Mm-hmm.
So in 15 years, I mean, there's no relevance.
In the very next episode we're going to talk about a movie that has a beginning sequence, at least if you're watching a particular version of it, that is dated as hell. The music sequence. And the movie itself, otherwise, yeah, it looks older because it's got the costumes, but it's dated because they chose to put that in there.
Yeah.
This is the same concept. And the thing also, as you mentioned, we hadn't talked to Eli at all. You mentioning her putting on this, I actually didn't notice it because I was too focused on the fact that they telegraphed everything. But the fact that you noticed that, didn't tell him in any way, shape, or form that was a thing that bothered you, and it bugged him, speaks to how this is why I was so confused when I first, even though I hadn't seen the movie, just it's very much, you smell a rat when something gets so heavily praised out of nowhere. Because Candyman, for example, is getting a lot of hype, but it's because the trailer looks good. The cast looks good. The people involved in it make sense. The idea can be updated the way they're planning to do it. That's why people are interested in Candyman.
I can't fucking wait.
Me either.
But now, it's no secret that Shudder has connections with the online horror community. And how deep those roots run, we're really not sure.
Which, in that
know.
regard, the ending credit. Have you ever seen a Shudder movie? I don't know how many originals you've watched that actually has Shudder's name at the end of the credits. Because this one does.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that, but I did like their credit sequence. I will say that.
The credits were clever.
That may have
The
been one of
credits
my
were
favorite
clever.
parts of this whole fucking movie.
The credits were clever, but at the very end, in the actual non-scrolling screen, they put up, their usual black screen and start scrolling a few more credits. And at the very end, there's about 5 logos, and one of them right in the middle on the top is Shudder. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, Shudder didn't produce 3 from Hell. Shudder didn't produce 31. Shudder probably didn't produce Mayhem. I can't say for sure. Some of the ones that Shudder has produced, I don't think they themselves put the money up to make the movie.
Yeah.
If they put their logo in the credits of this movie, it makes me think they paid money for it, which makes me think things. Okay, that's different. That's different, because that might just be them saying, "Oh, we had the movie on our stuff as a exclusive."
I just fucking happen to have this sitting here.
No, I know, yeah. But
oh yeah, well I just
like,
so happen to have this setting here, which says Shudder at the top of it.
Right.
Yeah, but that is an
it's
original show
series.
from Shudder.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they made this movie, didn't they?
But that's the thing. Sometimes when they say it's a Shudder exclusive,
mm-hmm.
They may have made it. They may not have made it. When I'm watching the movie and I'm going down, the credits are going, and I see Shudder's name at the end of it, my immediate thought after thinking what I think about this movie is, how much skin does Shudder actually have in the game on this movie?
I would say a lot.
I
mean, I say they did the full campaign. Now, I personally don't know the Shudder PR person. I've never spoke to anybody from Shudder. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, I've heard rumors of critics having free accounts and stuff like that. So,
I will go on record and say that Exorcast has gotten, not recently, obviously, original show, lots and lots and lots and lots of screeners, just as Chuck does for ZombiesDon'tRun.net.
Yep.
And we're pretty solid on we don't fucking sugarcoat anything.
No.
To the point where, what are the guys from Synapse? Mm-hmm. What are their names? Chuck?
Don May and
the other guy. I don't remember the other guy's name. So but Don May was like one. The other guy's the one I think gave y'all the problem.
Yeah. So he hated a review of some movie. I don't even remember the movie because it was fucking terrible. So much because we just ragged on it and we gave like this much redeeming quality to it because that's all that there was, and we were grasping at fucking straws. To the point that he got to the PR guy to message me that he wanted to have a face-to-face confrontation with me at Cinema Wasteland. That is the show. We don't fucking sugarcoat it.
In the time when I wrote my reviews for then Best Horror Movies and now Horror Freak News, yeah, I got press screenings in New York City. I got, sent screeners via things. I can think of one time ever that I watched a movie, came out of it, reviewed it, and later on thought, I think I was too kind to that movie. And I gave that movie a 3.5. Okay? That's how kind I was to that movie. I believe that it is a job of a critic or a job of a reviewer that we are to provide our opinion and be honest about it. That's the whole purpose of, you don't sugarcoat it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And if someone else feels differently, that is their prerogative. Mm-hmm. We all know that there's a difference of opinion between the three of us on Hatchet. There's a difference of opinion between the three of us on, apparently, Deep Red. Just saying.
Yeah.
And there is. And that's okay. But the thing is, when you reach a point where I don't feel Like when I'm reading someone's review and I don't feel like I can trust that they're saying what they actually think about a movie. Not because I don't agree with their opinion, but just because of the way it's presented. That's unforgivable.
Yep.
And I'd never want to be a part of that. So, with that said, since we are not sugarcoating, this movie is average. I'm giving it a 2.5.
Yeah.
It is average. It is not bad. It is fine. I don't feel like I wasted an hour of my life. And
Oh no, I don't feel like I wasted an hour of my life, but
right, it's fine. It's got some really good ideas in terms of some of the scares it does. And you mentioned it was the only character you liked was Teddy. I didn't actively really hate the characters either. Any of them. It was fine. But my God, other people need to pull it back a bit, man.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely did not hate this movie. Like, I legitimately was going into it thinking that I'm gonna fucking hate this. And yeah, it was fine. I didn't hate it. Kudos for what they accomplished over fucking Zoom.
Absolutely.
Their jump scares were nothing. And I was literally going to mock one on this show tonight, but I couldn't. I physically could not do it because said prop was missing, thrown away by my wife last Halloween.
So we have to wait for Host 2 now.
Yeah, and me go to a Halloween store or something. But to quote Dennis Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because if you know me, I think it's the greatest show of all time. It was pretty good. It was all right. It wasn't great, but it was fine. I give it a 2.
Now, I said in my post it's good, not great, so I'm giving it a 3, which to me is
average.
About as average you can get. So
yeah, I was gonna say, yep, give it more average than a 2, a 2.5, and a 3 combined together.
Yeah, so I mean it's definitely got some stuff going for it, not as much as people say. The most original thing about it though is that it's on Host or it's on Zoom, and it's short. And it's happened during the pandemic, obviously.
Yeah,
but I mean, is it really that original? Because we've had movies filmed over Skype.
Yeah, I mean
yep.
it's
and Zoom is just Microsoft, or well, not Microsoft, but Zoom is just another version of Skype.
I mean, it's just great hits of stuff we've seen.
We see movies on Skype.
With a little
more blood.
A little more blood.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those horror movies they did that were supposed to be about webcam girls.
Yeah.
Getting stalked and stuff.
I think the one is called Cam or Cam Girl or something.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. It's average.
When you make a movie and there's a point where a character leaves the room and gets a selfie stick and walks to an attic ladder and puts the selfie stick up in the attic ladder, I should not watch the screen and go, there's going to be an opening somewhere and that's going to be the scare somehow. And then there you go.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that,
But in today's day and age, that's exactly what would happen. She would have gone and grabbed a selfie stick.
Exactly. That's the thing. Part of it is that it is realistic.
A dirt mask and you ran out in the street.
The only other thing that I do want to say about this is I didn't want to come on here and I don't think any of us wanted to come on here and say something that is like we're curmudgeonly, get off our lawn type people. Because we're not.
I am.
You're only like that about certain people.
I'm a homeowner. I don't want you on my lawn.
To be fair, in your neighborhood, that's probably not a bad idea. They might steal your packages. But I am to certain people too. But what I'm saying is, like last week, I admit I made a joke about how we were popular with teenagers because of Antrim. And let me be clear here: if teenagers are getting something out of Antrim, more power to them. If there are people legitimately getting something out of Zoom, out of Host, fine. But it's the point where you start pushing it via hype like it's some brand new thing when you're, I don't know, the editor of a major horror news website who should know better in terms of other movies that have come out, you know, don't know who I could possibly be mentioning. When you, by your very job, should know about other movies that exist, don't do that. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that maybe a lot of the younger people that run across it maybe
Right.
haven't seen friend requests. I mean, there's a lot of people that haven't seen The Den, which I always bring up as a very good movie.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you like the people online that are promoting this as the greatest thing ever, they should know better.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I mean, Chuck, Invisible Man is better than this.
Yeah.
2020 film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, James. Blood Quantum.
Blood Quantum is better than this.
Thank you.
Absolutely 100% yes.
The
There's a
Hunt
reason I gave it a full extra point.
I mean, and
yes,
I understand that those films weren't made during the pandemic. Like, it wasn't made during the quarantine. But it was released this year. And most news outlets in the horror community are making it out that this is the 100% best thing of the year.
Mm-hmm.
No, maybe
it's not the best thing
right?
Shudder's released this year. Fuck.
No, we just said it already. It's not the best thing they've released this year.
It'll be on top 10 list though, for sure.
Oh, I guarantee it.
But
the only way it's going to be on my top 10 list is if there are only 10 films.
Movies. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I mean, it's going to definitely be strange if you actually see lists where this tops stuff like Invisible Man or The Hunt or something like that, because there's no logical reason why it should, you know. But
I'm so excited for The Hunt. I have it. I just don't have it. I haven't watched it yet, and it's got Dennis Reynolds in it.
You should watch it. I watched it I got it and Invisible Man around the same time and watched both of them and loved them both.
Literally got them both the same day. I just haven't watched The Hunt yet because I've been watching stuff for this.
Yeah.
And kid stuff.
To be reviewed at a later date.
I have watched Ernest Scared Stupid quite a lot, though.
I'm still pissed off I misspelled Miak in my head. Anyway, which, for the record, I've never said it on air, but 7th place Bloodbath horror quiz. Thank you very much.
It's true.
What is this quiz y'all do every week?
So,
I don't, because I'm on my way home from work.
Yes, you would if you could.
I'm usually at some wrestling event.
Final exam.
Not anymore. You quit.
Oh yeah, I'm still there. I'm backstage. I'm trying to do some producing stuff. Go ahead.
Final Exam Horror on Twitter every Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time does what is now a 30 question, used to be 60 question, multiple choice horror trivia quiz. Winners get usually subscriptions to Midnight Pulp, soundtrack CDs. Once it was vinyls. Once it was Synapse releases, like Phenomena, Tenebrae, that kind of thing. And basically, it's run by Ted, can't pronounce his name, Geffen, and I can't remember the other guy who runs it. They run it basically for free, accepting tips, basically, so that they can keep putting it out.
Ted, the producer?
Ted, probably, I think so, yeah.
Geo Joshin?
Yes, that's the one, yeah.
Is it the We Are Still Here guy?
I think that guy, yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. He is one of the two people who runs it. And basically, you just follow them on Twitter. They'll pitch it about it all week, tell you about its upcoming stuff. Last week was Psychos and Slashers, which infuriated Dance Commander and I because when they said slashers, they went obscure as shit in some of those questions.
I had 150 notifications by the time I got home. Like a 20-minute car ride.
How long do you got to answer the questions?
Usually it's about 90 seconds. Faster you or 100 seconds. Faster you answer the question, the higher your score.
So you can't just Google the answer?
You could, but you'd probably only get 30 points instead of 100. But usually first place and something like when they did Stephen King week, it was second place and 37th place. But they've also done first, 10th, 20th, 30th, 40th win prizes. It varies, but basically different people besides first win prizes every week. And, you just try your best and get the best score you can. You'll see the same people kind of tend to be up near the top, however they get there, but it's at least something to do on a Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's worthwhile.
Yeah. If they did a wrestling one of these, I'd be number one every time.
Okay.
I'm an encyclopedia for wrestling. when it comes to horror movies, you think as many as I own, as many as I've watched, that I know a lot more about it than I do, but I don't. Like when it comes to names, I'm bad with names when it comes to it. So you name some obscure Italian something, and I'd just be wrong. I'd have like Bava when it's Lindsay or something.
Okay.
That's why I don't partake.
Yeah, just to see what your reaction to that was.
Fun fact, before we end this, Ted was supposed to be on as a guest to interview on the original Exorcast. He was filming in Germany in the mountains, and we were trying to do it over a tent, and he, like, from his tent, and he couldn't get a good enough internet connection, so it never went through.
Mhm.
He also got killed in 100 Tears.
I say, he seems like a nice enough guy.
He's
You know?
pretty awesome. Okay,
His internet connection was that bad?
It's a tent.
in the mountains in Germany, yeah. I mean,
And he runs this prize deal, right?
He helps create the question.
were you
Yeah.
listening at all?
Yes. I'm just reconfirming.
And
That
for
he
the
was on
record,
set filming in the middle of nowhere in Germany and had no internet.
and for the
You
record,
go to town and don't have any cell phone service, Chuck.
Well, it does just not for the phone I have.
for various reasons.
Yes. Like I can go down the street and it works, but it don't work in that one spot where Grooms lives.
For the record, if you do the horror quiz, never ever answer Grimples. Ever.
It's always at least once in there in
Mhm.
an answer.
What happens if you answer
Yep.
Grim?
It's
You're
wrong.
wrong.
Oh, okay.
There's only one time ever that it was right, and it was intentionally the last question of the 60 question version of it, where it said it's been wrong all the time. This is the only time this is the answer, basically.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
That's funny. All right, guys, that was our thoughts on the host and our rants and our, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you still do watch the film. Let us know
It
what
is-
you think.
yeah.
It's 56 minutes long. It's not going to be that big of a waste of your time. So let us know. Like, share,
Go in with an
subscribe,
open
all
mind.
that fun shit. Yeah, go into it with an open mind. Don't just take what we have into consideration, even though we're probably the most straightforward review on the internet. I'm going with that.
Tip
Yep.
of the sword.
All right, see you next week.